It's Thursday, the 18th day of January 2024, and everybody's lips in this country right now, the judiciary, the judiciary, the judiciary. Our Justice Thursday conversation is going to be with the Vice-Chairperson of the Judicial Service Commission, the Honorable Macharia Njeru. Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, sir.
Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I'm so pleased to be here. I listen to Spice FM a lot, and I congratulate you as a team because you've done a very good job in terms of keeping the public appraised and engaged in all matters that relate to our political discourse. And you've become a very respected station. In fact, I dare say that right now, due to your consistency, I would consider you to be the #1 station in the country today. So, very well respected.
The judiciary has spoken.
Yes.
My personal view. That's my personal view.
It's over. It's done.
No, that's it. We're done.
But I have a fairly good mind, so I believe I've done a good job in making the right assessment.
Asante sana Macharia. Hey, that shot. Eh? I am the one who didn't get the memo one. Look at Ndu. Look at now our guest. Kawaida City. Yeah. Hey.
Great minds, you know.
It's great minds. Okay.
Right.
I know what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. Now, City always goes around Africa, scouts for proverbs from one African country. And throughout the week, he gives us one proverb per day. This week, he's in the country of Nigeria. And he's going to give us proverbs. You've been to Nigeria, Mr. Macharia?
I've not been, but I follow a lot.
You know a lot about Nigeria.
Yeah. In fact, one of the discussions I've had recently about independence of the judiciary is with the former president of the Nigerian Bar Association, a very respected guy called Akpata. And so you can see the interest is always to compare what's happening in our country with other jurisdictions, particularly within our continent.
Yes. So this week, the proverbs are from Nigeria, City.
Yes.
You'll give us a proverb in your pidgin English.
Yes.
And then the Nigerian Kenyan will give us the proverb in proper pidgin. And then it'll be your job, Macharia, to translate it from pidgin to English and then give us your interpretation of it. Okay? So let's start. City, go. Start. You have the baton. On your marks.
I have to apologize before saying this because I'm certain I may not pidgin this thing adequately. But nonetheless, as they say, here goes. Okay? One day, breeze go blow and foul Yanish go open.
One day. This one is one day,
breeze go blow.
Breeze go blow.
And after breeze go blow, foul Yanish.
Which foul? F-O-U-L?
F-O-W-L.
You know, in Nigeria, any fowl is fowl. Turkey, chicken, duck, so long as fowl. We fit chop am na fowl.
Perfectly
Fowl.
understandable.
Okay, a bird.
Yes.
No, one for eating, not pigeon.
No, not pigeon. All right.
Go open.
Go open. Now.
Do.
One day breeze go blow, na fowl nyash go open.
Yanish becomes Nyash. One day breeze go blow.
One day breeze go blow.
Now foul
Foul
Nyash go open. Macharia, are you anywhere close to understanding what has been
You know,
said?
for me, if it was something to do with chicken or animals that you are used to, I would have done a better job in, interpreting. But now, that I leave to
remove foul and say chicken.
Remove fowl and say bird.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Let's stay with the judiciary.
Okay. Okay, so foul bird,
Translate
and
it.
then Nyash is behind. So one day, the breeze will blow. And a bird behind will be exposed.
You see, I would look at it this way, that even as we continue attacking our institutions, thinking that we are okay because we are in power, we are protected, we'll damage these institutions, then a time will come because the shoe will be on the other foot. And the institution that you destroyed will no longer be there to protect you. So we got to have an eye for the future, even as we are dealing with the present.
Titi, what do you say?
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a multiple yes.
It's many yeses.
Yes, it is. Because there's something about the truth. It doesn't matter what you do. They say it loud. You can twist and turn and hide it and pontificate. You can do whatever it is you wish to do. But at the end of the day, and usually at the most inconvenient of times, it will be there staring at you and telling you, here I am.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, Bona Vice-Chairperson, the Judicial Service Commission has come out to respond to what's been in the public domain. And this started with the president and then followed by other members of the executive and some members of parliament and some advocates and some litigants saying there is corruption in the judiciary, and not just, few cases of corruption, but there is rampant corruption in the judiciary. That now the judiciary has gotten to a point where if the judiciary is being used for political expediency, the judiciary is not serving the people, it's not delivering justice. You came out to respond. Those that didn't hear, what's this response?
My brother Eric, there's no institution in this country that can say it doesn't have challenges. I mean, we would be burying our heads in the sand if we say that there are no challenges. But it is an exaggeration to say that there's rampant corruption in the judiciary. That is simply not true. Now, the timing of the discussions at this point in time, whether from the executive and say from the political leadership, is deliberate to achieve certain ulterior objectives. That is the simple truth, because there is litigation in court, if you look at the timing. And of course, the litigation is high octane, that we can't, again, lie to ourselves. And it can't be that all these allegations that are being, brought forth with a lot of, energy, when the cases are pending in court, it can only be that the executive or the politicians, so to speak, would want certain decisions made in their favor. So how do you do it? You, as much as possible, make pronouncements so that you can intimidate the judges and they rule in your favor. Because if you are saying, and this is now to the politicians, because many of these politicians are elected, and in fact, when they are campaigning, they are very emphatic about the rule of law, that when I take over power, I'll be ensuring that this country is governed by rule of law. Now, and we know about this country that the moment they came into power, there were also petitions. In fact, among all the politicians, there were many petitions, whether it's the presidency, whether it's parliament, whether it's, county governments. And these petitions were determined by the same judges. None of them, the ones none of them said that judiciary was corrupt as they were making those decisions. So if you now turn around and say that the judiciary cannot be trusted and is corrupt, then in effect what you are saying is that, you are able to achieve your decisions in your favor through corruption, because basically that's what you are saying, which is not true, because, the judiciary was praised for making decisions expeditiously and following the facts, law, and evidence. So you can't speak from both sides of the mouth that judiciary is corrupt when decisions don't go your way, and judiciary is very good, independent, and respectable when decisions are made in your favor. So we accept as JSC that whenever there are challenges that relate to judges and judicial officers, we are there under the Constitution to process those complaints, to process those petitions. And we do that all the time. And it's in public domain that action has been taken against judges, action has been taken against magistrates, action has been taken even against our judicial staff. In fact, 2023 alone, 3 judges were removed. 2023 alone, 2 magistrates were removed. In the last 2 years, we've removed 71 staff, judicial staff. And, those are very many people being removed. There are many other petitions that are being processed. But see, at the end of the day, whatever issues we have against an institution that is as important as the judiciary, it is how we address it. Because you see, at the end of the day, you do not want to attack such a critical institution in public domain without providing evidence. Because we don't dispute that one can have an issue, but it's how you address it. And we are not shutting down anybody from bringing the issues. For instance, if you have evidence against a judge or a judicial officer, what is the right thing to do? Prepare your petition or your complaint. And you see, you are knowledgeable enough to know how to present it. Because you are surrounded, these politicians, they are surrounded by a team of very competent people who are knowledgeable. They have a battery of lawyers all the time. So they'll present that documentation to the Judicial Service Commission, and we'll have, you see, it's incumbent upon us to ensure that we also give a hearing to the person against whom there's a complaint. So due process, because it is not a discretion on our part as JSC to choose when to follow due process and when not to. We have to follow due process. Okay. And that due process it is the same due process that has been used in respect to other judges and judicial officers who are even removed from office. So let us stick to the law.
Well, Njeru, when things are in the public domain or in the public arena for folks to speculate, it's kind of, different when members of the public can say, well, this is a witch hunt on the judiciary. Certain judgments are looked to go in certain directions, and that's why things are being said. But for that sentiment to come from the JSC in the manner in which you've presented it just now, to actually say that perhaps there is a desire for certain cases that are in court right now, waiting for decisions to go in a certain direction, and that is why we hear or we see this onslaught on the judiciary. That's very different, coming directly from the JSC itself.
I'm speaking in my individual capacity when I say it's not rocket science. You see,
sure.
I'm also a lawyer.
Yes,
I'm also a lawyer.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fly-by-night lawyer. I have now practiced over 30 years. So it is not difficult to deduce because you just need to look at the timing. And you see, it can't be, as I'm saying, that before you have no issue with the judiciary. But now when you're unhappy with certain decisions that are being made, or these decisions are pending. And you see one thing that, in our statement you said, in very absolute terms, there is sub judice rule that when a matter is pending in court, you don't even discuss it.
Sure.
Now, this is a rule that has been there for centuries. Now, you are busy discussing these matters, and the judges are also busy writing their decisions. How do you expect them to dispassionately make a decision, and every day you are attacking them? And these people are also human beings. They are human beings. Now, and you expect them to make a decision. And you see now, the kind of politicians who are attacking the judiciary, they are not the backroom, small politicians. These are powerful people who are occupying very high offices.
They're not fly-by-night politicians.
Yeah, they're also not fly-by-night. That's the hard reality. So, and you see, when it comes to matters of leadership, there's also responsibility that is expected, not just of political leadership, but all leadership in whichever sector that they occupy. There's a certain way you're supposed to conduct yourself. There's a certain way you're supposed to pronounce yourself so that you can be able to inspire confidence in the institutions. You can inspire confidence in the public. You see the danger we are now facing as a country. Can you imagine an investor, somebody wants to invest in this country, and you hear an institution being attacked, being branded corrupt, that it can be, and coming from high offices. So how would you expect that investor, who you want to come and help in building your economy, to come to your country? How will you sell your country? Because these same politicians are the ones who are supposed to go. They're the biggest marketers for our country. In fact, when they have huge budgets, they say that we are using this budget to market our country. Now, you see, investors don't just, it's not just what you tell them in one sitting when you're talking to them. They look at the track record. They look at your they'll even Google. They'll do research. What is it that you are saying about the organs of your country? One of them being judiciary, because if there's no rule of law, how will you put in your money, expect that when there's a dispute, that it can be heard in an unbiased manner, that only the law, facts, and evidence will apply, and there will be no undue influence based on extraneous, issues that will end up taking away your investment. So these political statements coming from leaders who are manning very critical institutions against the judiciary will actually destroy the institution.
Okay.
They'll destroy the country, ultimately. And it is the Kenyans who suffer, which is why I'm saying that there has to be responsibility. And you see, these are not people who have inability to provide the evidence if they feel that a certain judge has been bribed. It's very easy, because you have the ability to be able to do it and present it to the institution that is supposed to deal with it. Then now you can blame JSC. If you present the evidence and action is not taken, now you can say, we've done our part. This other institution is not doing its part, and therefore there's collusion. Now you can be able to say confidently that the institution is not working because we've done
because we have taken our complaints.
But now you've not done it. And what you're doing is that you're prosecuting your case in barazas. You are prosecuting it also in a manner that you are disadvantaging the judge, because remember, these judges, they can't respond. These people have no ability. You see, a politician has ability to be able to...
He has the platforms.
They have the platform, because every weekend, every day, they are addressing somebody somewhere. Now, a judge can only speak through their pen. And you see, it would even... It would be so wrong for judges now to start responding to these people. The moment they attack, they also respond in equal measure. That's not what's expected of them.
These accusations have not only come from the politicians, they have also come from seasoned advocates and jurists. Who have said, maybe we need another round of judicial reforms. Maybe we need to look back at what happened in the days of the Ringera, radical surgery of the judiciary. Maybe the Sharad Rao, vetting of all judges and magistrates. Maybe we need a fresh round where we can relook at the conduct of each individual judicial officer. Probably so. Have you heard that from members of the bar?
You see, my brother Eric, when you talk about the vetting and, when you talk about the Ringera surgery and all that, that was pre-2010 constitution. The way the Judicial Service Commission was constituted was very different from the way it is constituted today. The way judiciary was constituted was very different. Remember, those were the days before the 2010 constitution. The president is the one used to appoint, basically, so to speak. In fact, whenever the recommendation would come from JSC, then, which was also not properly constituted, he he could ignore. I mean, it really didn't matter. They could pick a judge from anywhere. They could pick, it was at their discretion. But things have changed. We have a new constitution. We have a Judicial Service Commission properly constituted. You have a judiciary also constituted differently. Same with the legislature, same with the executive. So this mechanism of, if you have a complaint, because even some of these lawyers who also complain against these judges, they don't put in any petition, they don't put in a complaint. They put in complaints through the media. And that's what I'm saying, that that's not the way to do it, because at the end of the day, if you lose a matter in court, don't go and complain in the media and now start branding a judge or judicial officer corrupt. Even I, as a lawyer, because I also practice law, though I don't go to courts, there are sometimes you are not happy with the decision of a judicial officer or a judge, which is normal, because anybody, when they lose, they'll not be happy about it. But what do we advise our clients? We tell them the process that you use is to appeal. Go to the Court of Appeal, and if the law allows, you'll go to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court never used to exist. So there are mechanisms of dealing with it. And that's why I'm saying that it doesn't mean that you cannot complain. It doesn't mean that you cannot criticize a decision. But what is the mechanism that you're going to use in pursuing your rights as provided under the Constitution of Kenya? That's what we need to learn as a country, that for us to preserve our institutions, let us not at the same time damage them. Because the moment we damage them, we become exposed. are we forgetting about 2007, where this country nearly collapsed? And you remember after that election, one side of the political divide said, we cannot go to those courts because we have no confidence in them. They are not independent. And it is for that reason that we say, let us now create an institution that can inspire confidence, that we can trust, that whenever we have disputes, whether political or otherwise, we can run to those institutions. So how many times do we want to continue destroying institutions that we go back to where we came from? Why do we want to have short memories?
The president has responded to the statement by the JSC chair, and he says, I am ready and willing to meet with the Chief Justice. The Law Society of Kenya has said, no, you shouldn't. Senior Counsel Kalonzo Musyoka, leader of Wiper, no, you shouldn't. Raila, no, you shouldn't. Others have said, no, you shouldn't.
Again, I don't want to say what the Chief Justice will do or not do, because at the end of the day, she's the chair of the commission. And you must also remember she's also the head of the Judiciary.
Yeah.
And you see, Judiciary, it's also independent of Judicial Service Commission. So the Chief Justice wears those two hats, among other hats. And of course, we can't tie our hands. It's upon her to make a decision on how best to handle some of those situations. But one thing we cannot lose sight of is that as the head of an arm of government, I don't think it would be right for us to say that she can't meet another head of another arm of government. Because, you see, apart from the issues now that are rising now, that are in the public domain, there are many other issues that relate to the different institutions. And to say that she will never meet the other arm, the other head of arm of government, the president of the country, I don't think that's practical. It's not realistic, because there are always other issues that need to be discussed, not necessarily what is happening now.
The challenge that they're raising is this meeting on this particular issue. The issue that the head of the executive is raising is complaining about the conduct of the judiciary in doing its job. And they say that if the head of the judiciary goes to meet with the president to have a conversation about how the judiciary should conduct its affairs, then that amounts to the head of the judiciary basically allowing herself to be controlled by the head of the executive.
It's not even possible. That I can tell you, that it's not possible for the Chief Justice to sit and discuss how judges should conduct themselves when they are dealing with the matters that are live in court. It's not possible, because judges are independent. They have decisional independence, and there's nothing we can do about that. In fact, it doesn't matter how many times we shout in public platforms. It doesn't matter how much we keep, discussing the issue. It's a discussion that amounts to nothing, so to speak. And I'll tell you why. Judges, remember, JSC is the employer of judges and judicial officers.
Yes.
When they are being taken through a disciplinary process, it is JSC that takes them through that process.
Yes.
Yet, judges and judicial officers all the time make decisions against JSC. There are many times they rule in our favor. There are many times they rule against us. And when they rule against us, what do? We go to the higher court. We go to the appeal court. And many times at the appeal court, we reverse those decisions. Many times appeal court has said, no, the judge was right. And what do? We go back to our boardroom, look at what we are supposed to regularize, whether it's a policy, whether it's a procedure, and we do it. We've never attacked them and told them that you are corrupt or you are cartels, because we just use the process.
Or started disciplinary proceedings.
Or start disciplinary process against them. In fact, there are judges who have ruled against us, and then they've come back to us saying, when there's an application for you to go to the Court of Appeal, and they come and they appear before us, seeking now to go to the higher court to go and rule against us again. And we've taken them if they are good. So it's not an issue. And that's what I'm saying. It is simply not practically possible to say that the Chief Justice is going to discuss about how the judges are going to conduct themselves regarding how they're going to determine the matters. It's simply not possible. It's not possible. So if that is the nature of the discussion, it's a discussion to nowhere. But if you're talking about other issues about how do we ensure that we're able to relate in a manner that protects the integrity, that will be able to inspire confidence in the institution, how do you ensure that you can be able to empower the institution? Because, listen, my brothers, I would I would be okay, for instance, my brothers and sisters, I would be okay, like, for instance, if the executive were to say, whichever decisions that the judiciary is making, can you expedite so that we can know where we stand regarding a project? That would be a valid point, because not just the government, even members of the public keep saying, justice delayed, it's justice denied. We want matters to be expedited. But that will also be an opportunity for us as judiciary and JSC to say, what are the key ingredients that we need to put, in this meal so that we can be able to achieve the desired taste. If you want us to expedite, please, can you increase our budget, because we need to employ more judges, but you are underfunding us. So we are not able to process these matters as quickly as possible because we have less hands, for instance. Can you be able to help us to continue putting up these courts, because you're not giving us enough money? We need to also improve on our technology. We need to put in more. So those discussions are valid if they are desired towards empowering and building the respective institutions for the greater good of the public. But to go and discuss about decisions, it's not possible.
So all of these things that you're saying, for me, lends to one direction, where we do have the three arms of government. We know what they are: the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. Are we then saying that all of these, whether it's public outburst, whether it's innuendo from the executive, whether it's direct onslaught from the executive or anybody else, that then the judiciary, in the way in which it has been prescribed, then does not hold independence as an arm of government because of these things that we see?
You see, the institutions have to be independent, there's no doubt, but they're also interdependent. They have to relate. Because if you say that everybody operates in a silo, it can't work. It simply can't work, because all the three arms of government, like the Chief Justice said, is like a three-legged stool. They need each other. And you see, they're all geared towards serving the public. But when it comes to the operations of the institution, when it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no, because the moment you start doing that and you lose the public, you have nothing left for you. In fact, I dare say, for the judiciary, you don't need the confidence of the politicians. What you need is the confidence of the public. Because see, the problem with the politicians, they'll say 5 different things in one day, to a point whereby in the morning what they say, by evening you don't know exactly what is their position. So why would you, as a judiciary or indeed any other institution, expect that you're going to inspire confidence, you're going to get confidence, or you want happiness from the politicians? It won't help you.
Okay.
So you are better off with the public, because the public will always stand for you. And in any event, we are all public before we are anything else.
Okay. You did say that the judiciary has challenges. The issue of corruption has come up before. This latest, what many are calling an attack, would not be the first time that allegations of corruption in the judiciary have been made. You did say that, yes, there are challenges. Corruption possibly being one of them. So the question is, even before the onslaught, what is the JSC doing about issues of corruption in the judiciary as a threat to process?
Now, I'll start by saying this, that there'll never be a time in the existence of humanity that will say that you'll always have a clean slate in any institution, whether historically, whether presently, whether in future. It's not possible. And that's why we put in these checks and balances, to ensure that you can be able to mitigate or contain, but not to say that you'll be able to eradicate altogether. And I can tell you that some of these challenges that will relate even to an institution like judiciary, they are not unique to us. Even in developed democracies, if you just Google and do some research, you'll find that those challenges, whether in America, it's something that is always being. In fact, right now, one of the debates is against a Supreme Court judge in the United States of America, Clarence Thomas. Now, as Judicial Service Commission, I just, in fact, at the outset, I said, last year alone, 3 judges exited. And no, removing a judge, I can tell you, Eric, and I can tell you, Ndu, is that it's not a walk in the park. It's a very elaborate process. Removing a judicial officer is also not a walk in the park. But we've done it. It's in the public. In fact, very recently, we've seen one exiting.
Yep.
So it's not that we've not done it. We've done it many times. And we'll continue doing it. So what we normally do, this is a process. Like if you have a petition against a judge, you bring it to the JSC. It is processed. We have a very elaborate complaints and investigation department that we've recently created at the JSC. In fact, we've picked one of the most experienced investigators, somebody who can make sure that these investigations are conducted independently and very expeditiously. Now, when these complaints are processed by a committee, which currently I chair, then it is taken to the full commission with the recommendations. And where we find that there's no culpability, it's a matter, for instance, that relates to a decision that was made by a judge. That JSC cannot determine because we are not an appeal court. They have decision independence, so you have to advise the party, this decision independence, just follow the process. But if you find that this misconduct, what do? We tell the judges to respond and we give them 21 days. After 21 days, if you are not satisfied, we create a panel where they're taken through a hearing like the one that is in court. And if we indeed find that there's evidence against that judge, we now forward those recommendations to the president to have a tribunal set up, and then it will determine. If the tribunal says that the judge should be sent home, they'll be sent home. And even then, remember, they also have a right to appeal.
The judge still can appeal.
Can appeal to the Supreme Court. That is due process. Now, the process is slightly different for the magistrates because it starts with the Chief Justice, but eventually it lands with the Commission. And we still follow again a process. At the end of the day, you have to give a right to be heard to the other party.
But then, in all this, the JSC is moved by a complaint. Right? Does the JSC move out of its own volition? Like seeing there's a trend here, and so let's take action.
We do.
Give us examples.
In fact, there are several, which of course I can't discuss now, that you're already undertaking independently. We do that, and the law allows us to do that. We don't have to wait to be moved. Sometimes we'll notice a matter, we'll see a trend. We also have our own ways, as an institution of being able to get information. And we do that. We do that all the time, as we should. So, and then the other thing I'll also tell you is that, just to give an example, last month alone, as JSC, we consider ourselves into teams, and we visited 56 court stations in 34 counties. And what we were doing is that first and foremost, interacting with our judges and judicial officers and reminding them about the obligation to the public, reminding them about the Judicial Code of Conduct. And we have a very elaborate Judicial Code of Conduct that stipulates how a judge or a judicial officer or even our staff are supposed to conduct themselves, reminding them, because human beings need that constant reminder. We're also meeting the public, the business people, the civil society, the government officers who are at the station level. All those combined, it's not just our staff, our judges and judicial officers, also the members of the public, through what we call the court users committees, and engaging them and asking them, where do you think we are doing things right? Where do you think we are doing things wrong? What is the way that you think we can be able to collaborate and make things better in the interest of the public? And we are doing it robustly. We have fact sheets. In fact, we have documents, some of which even have carried here for you to see, which one of them is JSC at a glance, that provides clear mechanism through which you can put in a petition when you want to put in a petition. We have documents, how do you complain, where we're informing the public. We have that Judicial Code of Conduct, that Judicial, Service Code of Conduct and Ethics. So we have all these documents, and you can see these documents, we didn't develop them after we started being attacked in public. They were there, and we're already doing the job. So that shows you that there's that intention to make things right and ensure that judiciary is also accountable, because we accept that even as judiciary is independent, it must be accountable. Nobody has a quarrel with that. It is how you do it, the process that you follow in holding the judiciary to account, that is wrong.
Is now up for debate.
Absolutely.
Let me take you back into since 2013. All right, so we have a new government, new system of government. Constitution is now being implemented robustly. Since then, with the Uhuru Kenyatta administration up to the very end, and now with the William Ruto administration, something that is emerging is where the executive feels that the courts are being used to stall their projects. Even Parliament sometimes feeling that the courts are being used for political expediency. Political battles are now being fought using the courts. And it's basically amounting to abuse of the court process, if one may push that argument to that very end, where somebody goes to court under certificate of urgency and says, there's a certain matter that's happening, and I'd like the court to halt it. And then we come and discuss. And the matter takes another X number of months under discussion, with applications, in various courts. There's an application before the Constitutional Court. There's another application happening somewhere in another high court. It's basically just stalling this thing. In the meantime, everything pause, halt. And even if you look today, what the president was saying yesterday, he's accusing the opposition leaders of working with economic saboteurs to frustrate government efforts to improve the economy and liberate Kenyans. He defended his decision to engage with the judiciary. He's saying, there are cartels and other economic saboteurs who are responsible for this. They see a government project that has started. They rush to court. They don't have an argument as yet. They just say that, this one is wrong. It's unconstitutional. It's violating a certain section of the law. Can you please order the executive to hold it as we hear this, as you hear this matter? And the first thing that happens is that project stalls, and then it takes a long time for it to be concluded. What do you respond to that?
My brother Eric, you see, when a judge is making temporary orders, they will not just make an order that is not supported by evidence at the time when somebody is seeking an order under certificate of urgency, because it's an affidavit. There will be material presented to them. Of course, how they rule is not within my province to say this is what determines the direction they take. But what we know, now speaking as a lawyer, is that they are guided by the material that is before them. That's what will determine. And not all the times that a party is given ex parte orders. You see, we'll give prominence to some of the matters which could be of great public interest, where those orders have been issued, but there are also very many other matters equally of great public interest where orders have not been given. I know that for a fact also, again, as a practicing lawyer. So it will not be correct to say that it's in all these matters that orders are issued. But even then, I would want us to compare with other jurisdictions and give you also very prominent situations where courts in other jurisdictions have done the same. A classic example is the UK government, where the government at some point in time was literally having a plane taxiing to remove refugees and take them to Rwanda. And were stopped right in their tracks by a high court. The UK government was unhappy. They went to the Court of Appeal. Then after the Court of Appeal, it went even to the highest court in the UK. Now, and they were stopped finally, and they were told that the process that you're using, in spite of the negotiations you've undertaken with the Rwandese government, is not right. And yet, it's a very major issue in the UK government. In fact, it's one of the key planks in the policies and that have been set up by the government in the UK. And they were very unhappy. But you didn't hear them saying, these judges are frustrating the government, they are cartels, they've been corrupted. You didn't hear that. I'll give you another example of Argentina. There's the new president, some maverick, a guy called Javier Milei. The guy, when he was campaigning, he talked a lot about labor and economic reforms. And he came up with comprehensive, he had a lot of, regulations and that he came up with, and he said, this is the first thing I'm going to do the moment I'm sworn in. And sure enough, when he was sworn in, he came up with a raft of these labor and economic reforms. They were stopped by a court. And he was told, no, yes, you're doing it, but against the law. An injunction was issued. I have checked. I have not seen that guy saying that those guys are cartels or they are out to sabotage his government. I'll also give you an example. Previously, before this guy, there was a president called Alberto Fernandez, again of Argentina. And this guy, there was a dispute over the allocation of funds amongst the various states in Argentina. And he said that the state of Buenos Aires was being allocated a lot of money. So they came up with a policy, and as they were coming up with the regulation, they gave that state less money. Somebody went to court and said, no, you can't do that. And in fact, they went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, no, you are going to increase the allocation of the state of Buenos Aires. Alberto Fernandez said, how can a court which is not elected be the one now to determine for us how we are going to allocate funds? I'm going to disobey this court order. But within 7 days, he changed his mind. And I'll quote what he said. He said, judicial decisions are binding, even when they appear disadvantageous or unfair. And consequently, we are going to implement the court order. And he did exactly that. So, the state of Israel recently, you know the famous case where the government of Netanyahu was also saying that it cannot be upon the courts to determine the reasonableness of the policy of the government, the test of reasonableness. And he said, we have to change the law. And indeed, he tried to change the law using the Knesset, the equivalent of our parliament. And they went ahead and did exactly that. The Supreme Court, 8:7 ruled otherwise and said, you cannot, our democratic setup in the state of Israel, if you start saying that the courts cannot interfere when it comes to a policy that is illegal, then you are disrupting the entire democratic setup of the state of Israel. So we are saying an absolute no. Now, why am I giving those examples amongst many others? Because, those are the ones I can give because of the issue of time. Is to demonstrate to you that the manner in which our courts are conducting itself here is not unusual for any democracy that is geared towards respecting its constitutions, any democracy that is geared towards ensuring that it's enhancing the rule of law. That's the way to go. But you don't say cartels, you don't say about corruption, you don't say all these things. Opposition, you don't say all those things because it's our democracy. We have 2010 constitution. That's what we chose for ourselves. Unless you don't believe in it as a politician. But if you do believe in it, please infuse the spirit of that constitution in the entire fabric of the society so that you can have a better country. But more importantly, I know for a fact, sitting as a Kenyan, that no matter what we try to do to undermine the 2010 constitution, it's here to stay. There's nothing we can do about it. And the earlier all of us, wherever we sit, understand that we'll make our lives easier by just respecting it, by looking for all manner of, looking for ways and means of abiding by it so that our lives can become better. That's the way the country will be able to move forward. Now, I'll answer your question about the issue of the timelines. For instance, when you say that even during the Uhuru government, they were saying that sometimes courts will take long and it ends up affecting the government projects. I recall that there were discussions then that when it came to the public procurement matters, for instance, that it was taking too long and it was stalling procurement process, and again it was affecting service delivery. And it is for that reason the law was changed to say that when you are objecting to a procurement, there are timelines. Right from the time when it comes before the Public Procurement Board, where it's determined, up to the time when it comes to the High Court, up to the time when it goes to the Court of Appeal. There's a strict timeline that is provided for, and you have to abide by it. You recall there was also a complaint where it was being said that when it came to petitions against, say, for instance, members of parliament, that sometimes it was taking too long to a point where you find that a non-deserving member of parliament has served the entire term. That's why there was a timeline that was imposed. That's why I'm saying we cannot say that we cannot continuously improve. In fact, it's only say that in any situation, the biggest mistake you can make is to assume, it's grandiosity where you say now you've succeeded, you're doing well, you don't need to improve. We accept that discussions can always be had about how to continuously improve, which is why I'm saying if those are the kind of discussions you'll be having, that's quite in order. We can say that can we improve on timelines? Can we ensure that so that we know where we stand and we're able to move on? But now the problem is when you are starting from the premise that it is corruption that is making decisions go a certain way, that is cartels, that is sabotage from the judiciary, you are not creating the right ecosystem that will allow for meaningful discussions. And it's for that reason I'm saying that then you cannot say that it's good faith, because in any discussion, like equity, there has to be clean hands. from both hands.
Clean hands, where politicians are concerned. Really?
They are our politicians. See, at the end of the day, we'll never do away with them because we are the ones who elect them.
Yeah.
And sometimes we say that we get the leadership that we deserve. They are politicians. You remember, these people don't get themselves to office. But we must also remember that...
But do we elect them to do the things that they end up doing, really? Does that represent what it is?
It's not the mandate that we give them.
No, because it is like the mandate we give them was to go and do the things they do, which we keep complaining about. That isn't the mandate. They choose their own mandate and go their own merry way.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree that a lot of times they fail us. There are also some who actually do the right thing. Again, we can't condemn them wholesome. But by and large, it is upon us also as a public to also hold them to account. And when they do wrong, we must say no. Like we are saying now, these discussions are also good for our country because it also speaks to the democracy we have. And I'll also tell you this, that I recall last year, I bumped into the Secretary General of IGAD. I don't know him, but he was introduced to me. And the first thing he told me the moment he knew that I work with the Judicial Service Commission is that what we admire most about Kenya is the independence of the judiciary. I was telling you about a guy called Akpata, the former Nigeria Bar Association president. He was saying the same thing, that Kenya is a trailblazer when it comes to the judiciary independence. So let's not destroy that.
Macharia Njeru, the Vice-Chairperson of the Judicial Service Commission. He's been our guest this morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.